we're going to be looking at creating our very own tools and utilizing the Python programming language to essentially create various tools that can use to automate tasks, to automate various aspects of the penetration testing lifecycle. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, as you've probably read by the title of this video, we'll be looking at creating an Nmap scanner. Now, this is going to be part of a larger project. All right, so for this video, let's start off with creating a very simple Nmap scanner with Python 3. So my development environment for this entire project will be as follows. I'm currently running Kali Linux. All right, so you can test it out on any Linux distribution or on Windows if you want. Just make sure to install the Python Nmap module. All right, now we're going to also be using Python 3. All right, so as you can see, I'm using Visual Studio Code as my my integrated development environment, and I have the Python extensions installed from the extensions manager right over here. I've set up my if you can just take a look, we have set up my interpreter that is going to be used for the project. So make sure you set it as Python 3. All right, so I'm going to be discussing various methods and various Nmap methods, and I'll explain, hopefully I can explain what each and every one does. All right, so the program that we're going to create today is we're going to create a very, very simple program that will ask the user for an IP address that they want to scan. It'll then prompt them, it'll then ask them for to select a type of scan that they want to run. For example, we could have a SYN scan, a UDP scan, or a complete comprehensive scan that will include operating system fingerprinting, service fingerprinting, an aggressive scan, SYN scanning, and also using the default scripts that come with Nmap. All right, so to get the Python Nmap module installed, make sure you have pip, and for the appropriate version, you make sure you have pip installed for Python 3. So let me just open up my terminal here, and I'll increase the font size here. Just give it a second. There we are. All right, so to install it, all you need to do is simply type in you simply need to type in pip3 install, and you have your Python Nmap, if I'm not mistaken. So just hit enter, and they should install the Python Nmap module. Just give it a few seconds to start collecting the details, and there you are. So I already have it installed, and as you can see, it's the latest version is Python Nmap version 0.6.1. all right, so we are pretty much good to go at this point. All right, so let me just go back into my development environment here, and the first thing we are going to do is we are going to need to import Nmap. So to do that, as you probably know, through the syntax of Python, is done by typing in import Nmap. All right, and that's as simple as that. So we've imported the Nmap module, and now we can use the various classes and methods that come within the module, which are extremely helpful. We're then going to create a variable called scanner, and this is going to be used to call the class, the Nmap port scanner class. So to do that, we simply type in Nmap, and we use the port scanner class right over here, and we can also just add the two the two brackets there. All right, so if you hover over the port scanner right over here, it should give you a bit more information about the class. So there you are. You can go ahead and inspect it if you've set up your development environment correctly. All right, so we have assigned the variable, we're using the variable to call. So whenever we use the variable, we are going to be extending the functionality of the port scanner, or of the Nmap module really, or the port scanner class. All right, so now we're going to prompt the user. We're just going to say welcome. And of course, as I said, this is going to be part of a larger program. So this is going to be one function. So when we're going to be compiling everything together, this is going to be one part of the entire larger program or script, and it'll be completely open source, and a lot of you guys can improve it if you want. You can fork this on GitHub and improve it in any way you feel is much better, or will increase the performance, the efficiency, etc. All right, so we're going to say welcome. This is a simple Nmap automation tool. All right, so simple Nmap automation tool, and that's pretty much it for that line. We are now just going to add a divider here. So I'll just create a small little divider here that will just separate this from anything else that we are actually going to get started with. All right, so now we are going to prompt the user to enter the IP address that they want to scan. And to do this, we're going to be using, we'll assign it a variable, and since we're inputting the data, we can prompt them and then wait for the input. And I'll show you how to do that. So we're just going to create a variable called IP address, and that is going to be equals to the input, and we have the prompt there that's going to prompt the user to input. So we're going to say please enter your, or we can just please enter the IP address you want to scan. All right, so you want to scan. All right, and we can just give it a nice little colon right over there, so we have great punctuation. And then we're going to print out we're going to say we're just going to make sure that the user has entered the IP correctly. So we're going to ask them if this is the correct IP. So we're going to say the IP you entered is, and since the value is already we've already given IP address the value, or the user has already inputted it, we can simply just give it a nice little space here and use the variable IP address there to display what the user entered. All right, and the type is going to be that of the variable itself, or the data that the user inputs. Of course, we're going to be sanitizing the input to make sure that that no other pieces of text are entered, because if the user enters any strings here, it'll really not be helpful. All right, so now we can now create another variable here that is going to ask the user to select the type of scan they want to run. All right, but before we do that, let me just save this and make sure everything is working correctly. So I'm just going to run the Python file in the terminal, and for some reason my compiler here is not allowing me to actually execute this. Let me just make sure I have the correct Python version here. So let me use Python 3 like so, and let me just run this one more time. If it still gives me the error, let me just run it in my terminal here. All right, so cd desktop, and we're just going to run Python 3, and that's going to be scanner.py, and there we are. So welcome, this is a simple Nmap automation tool. Please enter the IP address you want to scan, 68.1.1. I'm going to hit enter, and there we are. So that is working perfectly. It's going to even prompt give you the IP that you entered, which is awesome. Now we can extend the functionality a little bit more. All right, so we are going to be calling the variable response. So this is going to be the response that the user gives when prompted or asked as to what scan they want to run. All right, and again, we're going to be prompting or waiting for the user input here. We're going to have a multi-line we're going to have a multi-line string we're going to have a multi-line strings here. So we're going to essentially just make sure that this goes to a new line, so to the next line. So we're going to say please enter the type of scan you want to run. So the type of scan, sorry about that, the type of scan you want to run, and we'll move on to the next line. And let me just tab this right over here. We can indent it so it matches that, and we're just going to say option 1 is going to be let me just make sure that is correctly lined there. Sorry about that. Let me just indent that correctly. All right, there we are. So we're going to say option 1 is going to be a synac scan. So synac scan, punctuate that correctly. And we're going to say option 2 is going to be, let's see, a UDP scan. Of course, we'll be increasing the functionality of this scanner, but for now, let's focus on very basic options that we can provide. Let's say we want to perform a comprehensive scan, and that can be denoted as follows. And you can also give the user a bit of an idea of what this scan will do exactly. But for that's fine. Now we can also say, let me just get out of that indentation. We can now print this out and say, we can also make sure that the user has selected the option correctly. So we can say, selected we have selected option, and we can just give it a nice little colon there. And again, we use the variable to which the value is assigned, like so. All right, now we can use our conditional statements to either run scans depending on the answer that, or depending on what the user wants to run in terms of a scan. So option 1 is a synac scan, option 2 is a UDP scan, and option 3 is a comprehensive scan.